Fine. Doing an absolute disaster. Let's talk about Neil Gaiman. So I want to start off with a review of Miracleman: The Silver Age, which I just read. I mean, it's the second time I read it. I read it as it was coming out, but I wanted to reread the whole thing. Yeah, which I did yesterday afternoon, and it was very good, right? So here's the thing. It's virtually impossible to review Miracleman without giving you a lengthy run-up, right? So Miracleman started in the early 80s in a magazine called Warrior, and it's one of Alan Moore, who's a big comics visionary's first strips, along with V for Vendetta, and it took Marvel Man, right, who was this pulp hero that was a ripoff of Captain Marvel. I think a tracing of Captain Marvel, as far as I understand it, right? Or something very similar. And then it was the first time they tried to put superheroes into a realistic setting, right? And so it really, really worked. So you had the Alan Moore 3 books of Miracleman, which took a long time to get out. You had the, was it Warrior? The thing that was originally published in was hit legal trouble, I think, towards the end of book 2 of Miracleman. Alan Moore's run was 3 books. And then it was about, I don't know, a 5-year wait or something like that before it was published. The change in artists was somewhat jarring, but still, it was a visionary, incredible script. So the basic idea of it is you had this. It starts off. You have this guy who's got is a reporter, who's got a bit of a shitty life. He's going to, and he's got this secret just outside of his head, that this word he's trying to remember all his life, and he can't. He's taken to he's at a nuclear protest or something when this was the early 80s, right? When a nuclear power station is going online and it's attacked by terrorists. And as he's there, he's really sick, everything's spinning in front of him, and he sees the words atomic, and it's written backwards, Kimota. Kimota is the magic word, and he turns into this like 1950s style superhero. And so the first book is really trying to is adding adult dimension to the character. So it turns out everything he believed from the 50s wasn't really true. He was the product of a defected Nazi scientist called Emil Gaganza, who was the main villain throughout the 50s run of it, 50s and 60s run of it, working for a shadowy British spy outfit, and they come across a crashed alien spaceship. So they from that they retro engineer how to clone somebody and make them into a super person, right? Give them all these incredible superpowers, and to control them, they put them in like this virtual reality sleep mode, where and that's where all the 1950s, 1960s superhero stories come from, right? So there were three people in the Miracleman. Miracleman, young Miracleman, or Marvel Man, and then Kid Miracleman. So at the end of the project, at the beginning of the story, they were sent to they were sent on a mission, which was really a nuclear bomb that was going to blow them up, and so because they were too dangerous to keep around, and then they thought they got rid of them. Miracleman survived, but he lost his memory. Young Miracleman was killed. Miracleman, the word is nonce. I don't know what I well, kind of actually, yeah. In this story, it does, because and then Kid Miracleman survived and grew, and as the story grows, they meet the aliens that this crash spaceship comes from. You learn a lot about the interplanetary politics. All this stuff is really good, but you can get the whole thing in one graphic novel. It's one of the greatest comics ever written, probably one of the greatest superhero comics ever written. It's absolutely fantastic. But at the end of it, you have the villain, young Miracleman. He again, give you an idea how insanely graphic it is. When he first finding him in the beginning of book 1, right? He ends up saying the magic word that turns him back. He'd remained a super person for ages, right? And so he was now in his 30s. And then he accidentally said the name, his word that changes him back to a human, and he got changed back to a like an 11-year-old, because that's how long he's been a super person, right? So and he's in a catatonic trance, and so as the story goes along, he's in like care, and you see him and the Kid Miracleman inside his mind, and Kid Miracleman is keep trying to like tempt to find a way to break out, to get him to like get rid of the basically let him free. And then at one point in the second book, he says, "No, I'm going to show you who's boss." And he comes out of his catatonic trance and starts speaking. That was not good news, because he ends up being moved to a children's home, which was not a good place. So by the midway through the third book, it's not like Bullstall, that movie. So he's been bullied by like not nice people, and they rape him, right, at the and it's a very graphic scene of gay rape, right? It really is. And as that's going on, he can't like take it, and so he says his word again, and he turns into the evil Kid Miracleman, and then he does all this, atrocity upon atrocity upon atrocity upon atrocity, and like it rains feet on one street, and there's insane, superpowered atrocities. But and they're defeated by the good guys, which is Miracleman and the aliens. There's two factions of aliens that, and also you had a Miracle Woman as well. I'm glossing over all the stuff, but essentially by the time it ends book 3, which is the Alan Moore run on it, it's it's now they're in the age of miracles. The world is completely being reformed. There's no they're getting rid of money, and they making this like absolute perfect masterpiece world to live in, right? So that was the end of Alan Moore. If you want to buy the comic book of it, the graphic novel of it, Alan Moore's name is not on it, right? It's just called the original writer, because he didn't want to be associated with it in any way. But I think he probably wanted his co-creators to be able to make some money out of it. So then Neil Gaiman, this was in the 90s, took over, and he was doing a 3-book run as well. First book is called The Golden Age, which is examining all these lots of different aspects of this new world that they live in, right? And one of the aspects is you can become a surrogate mother for you can get superheroes semen from Miracleman and like give birth to a superhero. There's a enhancement program that other people can like get the superpowers, and it's like really like majorly transforming the world, right? Matthew Banner said Alan Moore should have kept the Holy Macaroni Michelangelo dialogue. He actually did in certain places, and so they're also over here. So Kid Miracleman, the guy in red over there, he was killed, right? And before the beginning of the story, the beginning of the Alan Moore run. So how it works is you have like a body wardrobe, right? You have this like space where all these like different bodies hang. And by saying a word, you switch into that different body. So the body of Kid Miracleman was like decrepit and it was decomposing. But they go in and they extract his DNA and they regrow clones of him, and essentially to wake him up and bring him into this new world. So that's what this story is about, and it's a pretty goddamn good story. However, its failing is. What's coming out is Neil Gaiman's lack of sexual morality, right? Because the world that they present here is a world where there is no form of sexual morality, right? And where sex is cheap. And honestly, we were sold a false bill of goods, right? And like we've been taught to devalue sex. and we really shouldn't, right? Sex is one of the most powerful things in the world. It motivates and drives so much. And we kept saying it's no big deal. No, sex is a big deal, right? And I think that's what's led Neil Gaiman into his career being destroyed, right? So anyway, let's start looking at some of the artwork. Who did the artwork here? What's his name? Mark Buckingham did the artwork, and he actually redrew the artwork. So it opens up, you're having this huge superpowered fight, and these are the kids, the new generation of superpowered people. And it turns out they're just playing, right? They're just playing. And most of the story is told on these two-page spreads, which I think work really, really beautifully, right? And then they get word that Kid Miracleman's being, young Miracleman is being woken up after being revived, and so a lot of it is about this kid from the 1950s integrating into this completely different world, this completely, I would say, amoral world. Right, which has a lot of advantages and a lot of problems, right? And he gets to see it from like a different perspective, right? This is the girl. There is Miracleman's daughter, who's 19 but decided to stay as a baby. Her name is Winter, right? So Miracleman wants to like break him in slowly, but doesn't really work, right? It doesn't really work, and he gets pulled out, and so you get this like major culture shock going on. As he's like polite and meets everyone, and he's got the dialogue is just right. But by the end of the first part, he's like, cheer, righto, MM, I won't be going anywhere. And you see how jarring this world is for him. Right, which I find that a really good, strong story, and that's basically the story of the whole book. You get some great extras in this, right? Like this was the original version of a page where you see it's a single page one, but where is it? This page over here? No, I don't have it, right? But so you got lots of different versions of the artwork. Then next thing you know, he's being taken to New York to do a flyby parade. He's learned about London, the horrific attack by Miracleman, and like when he's in public, he tries to put on a brave face. As he struggles with the culture shock of being super famous in this new, very, very different, I would say deeply amoral world, right? So Mrs. Miss Marvel Man, Miracle Woman, right? She is convinced that young Marvel Man, young Miracle Man, is just in love with Miracle Man and is very deeply has unrequited longings, right? So again, this is where it goes off the rails, right? So Miracle Man goes to make a pass at him, and again, this idea that your sexuality could be this or it could be that with no boundaries whatsoever, without it affecting the general malaise of the world, the general morality of the world, is nonsense, right? And so you have Miracle Man, who's this super progressive, and Kid Miracle Man, and less so, right? So he makes a pass at him, doesn't go well. He hits him, and then he's just disgusted with it, right? He's disgusted with him, and he flies off. So that, and again, we get lots of great extras. Which I really love these extras, right? And for me, it just makes it so much stronger. So now, so that's the cover. So now he's on a voyage of discovery, right? So he ends up in the Himalayas. Oh, spoiler warning, right? And as he's unconscious, he gets visited by apparitions of Kid Marvel Man, Kid Miracle Man, I say, who was the big villain of the police, and they have these somewhat intense psychological conversations. Now, the biggest failing of this book, I would say, other than the deep abiding immorality of Neil Gaiman, is it's way too much dialogue, right? and I'm surprised at Neil Gaiman because he's really a master of the comic book arts, I would say. It's a bit of a grueling read because it's too word dense, right? It should have been I understand there's a lot he wanted to give over, but Alan Moore gives over equal amounts of like intensely detailed philosophy with less words. Well, a lot less words is better. So anyway, he's on the Himalayas, and there's somebody climbing up it. This was a minor character from the Alan Moore run. And so he joins him up the Himalayas because people just do whatever they want now, right? If somebody wants to go climb the Himalayas, no problem. There's there's these different base camps everywhere that they stay in, which is where they end up, and they meet a couple of superheroes or superpower people. And again, one of them saying, "Hey, do you want to have sex?" And I'm like, just give it a rest. Right, it feels like I should have got one. This is what the decaying corpse of it looked like it's called Underspace, right? And so where they're trekking to is up the Himalayas. There's this guy called Caxton. I can't remember. But when they offered people the ability to get superpowers, he was the first one who got superpowers. Right, and so that led him on a journey of self-discovery. He loved it at first; it was fantastic. But then eventually he realized that I'm still the same person. I've still got the same problems. I don't really need them anymore, right? And so he asked them to be removed. And I think really obviously he's based on the look of Alan Moore, right? But which happens quite a lot in Alan Moore adjacent comics. And so, he's, again, you get a discussion of what youth superpowers are, right? And why you would want them. Again, the whole thing is him going through this process of self-discovery. Now, the reason he's got superpowers that him, Miracleman and Kid Miracleman were all kidnapped from orphanages in the 50s. And then had their memories erased and given like these fake memories to explain this superpowered abilities. Which is where he's going to right now, right? He's on a quest to find out who he really is, right? His name is Dickie Dauntless, and it sounds like a bit of a silly name, so he can't really be real, he thinks. Then, again, another place where it gets weak is where it examines religion, and Neil Gaiman examining religion is not, Alan Moore can do it very well, right? Alan Moore is one of the few people I would say who understands what Judaism is. Especially if you read things like Providence, right? Like this real genuine brilliance here. Neil Gaiman's hatred of religion pours through this, and his hatred of religion is because it restricts him sexually, right? And that's really the bottom line, right? And so he's got that. It's the same with Bill Maher, right? They hate religion for the same reason because they don't want to be restricted sexually. Right, and it's probably a good thing to be restricted sexually. So at the same time, we got like in intergalactic politics. These are the Walt Smiths, and there's something going on with them, but you don't know what. You have two basic power blocks, and they're both on Earth to essentially make some kind of courtship, so they could like bond and stop fighting each other, right? So again, good. Again, strong artwork, good discussion, right? Now, something I found interesting is in the graphic novel of it that I read on Sabbath, they didn't have any chapter breaks. It just went from one issue to another issue, so you got more of a feeling of it as one cohesive story, and it really does work well that way, right? Anyway, so fine. So now he's met this woman and he's on a quest to try and find who he really is. And so they're looking for records about who he could be. And eventually he finds the orphanage where he was from, and he visualizes these ghosts there, and these memories that have been wiped from him, but they're still part of him, right? It is too much. His brain explodes, and then you get this like extended flashback to who he is, and it's a profoundly sad and real story. His father was killed in 1942 in World War II. He was a Polish pilot, and his mother died a couple of years later. One of the few things he had was a Gilbert and Sullivan record of Rundigore, right, which is one of his only happy memories. So like she couldn't, so the person in charge of the orphanage couldn't pronounce his name, and so he chooses his own name as being Dickie Dorkness, who was from the Gilbert and Sullivan play. And again, I'm a big softie. Like I like the idea of kids being nurtured and being looked after and being able to grow and be the best person they can be. Right? It's tragic when it's not, and it's painful, right? And it gets more painful because you get to see all that British sexual abuse that was right through the BBC and through orphanages, just disgusting stuff. And you see that he's a victim of it. And then one day he gets called in and he thinks it's going to be more, child rape, and it's instead Dr. Gagunza, right? Dr. Gagunza, he's trying to pick out people for his this superpower program that is super secret, right? So they, because he does well, they give him some money to go and get fish and chips, and that's where he's kidnapped. And then you see like his entire superhero experience, right? And as he finds out who he really is, right? And I don't feel like any of this is a spoiler because all of this is character study and character moments, right? It doesn't really I mean, like I was page turning when I was reading it, but it's a somewhat gentle character study, right? Of how this person becomes the person they're going to be in the final book, whatever that may be. It's probably not anything good. So fine. So now he feels good to turn back into young Miracleman and confront his mentor, right? Which he does, right? And so he essentially says, you know what? I've decided what I'm going to be in this world. I'm going to be your adversary, right? You are operating without checks and balances, and that's the function. He wants to be Satan in the Garden of Eden, and how it ends is that he ends up sitting under a tree and putting out these flyers to come and join him, and eventually he does get you see a following. Does follow him, right? Starts off with very little, very few, then grows, right? But in the background, right, he's meditating, and you can see the voice of the evil kid Miracleman growing in the darkness, and so that's the Silver Age. And the final book is called the Dark Age, which is apparently set a couple of hundred years later. But again, I think it's Miracleman, Marvel Man is a superior comic book series. It's to a great extent was one of the proto inventors of the modern comic book, and I think this is a worthy addition to that canon, right? Which again, it's only let down by Neil Gaiman's misunderstanding of the power of sex, right? It's not a misunderstanding. He just wants to be able to get his end away, essentially. And so when all these revelations came out about him, it's really sadly not so right. And the more somebody virtue signals about how they are, a good, modern, forward-looking person, the more they virtue signal, the more it's going to come out that that there's going to be. The more you don't have any boundaries around sex and sexuality, the more they're going to be at some point outed as being a bad person, right? Yeah, which is exactly what happened. Now, look, he hasn't been convicted of anything as yet. It just to me makes somewhat sense that these allegations can be true. So records emerge of Neil Gaiman's admitting sexual assault. Well, that's not good news. And you saw his career's just blown up, right? Disney halts production on the Graveyard Book amid sexual allegation scandal. And then again, you know, we have a tradition in Judaism. The only reason somebody doesn't like religion is because they want to have more sex, right? That's really genuinely it. Let's see what more allegations came out. Another woman has come forward with allegations that Neil Gaiman sexually abused her and was incredibly manipulative in the aftermath of an effort to convince her that what happened wasn't assault. And maybe in his mind he didn't think it was. Nearly 10 years later, Gaiman and Claire had 2 phone calls in response to a letter she sent to him detailing her ongoing trauma from the incident. Tortoise has heard the recordings of these calls. Neil Gaiman admits that he fucked up, calls his behavior shitty, and also pays $60,000 to cover the cost of therapy and promised to make hefty donations to the Rape Crisis Center. Please don't let this come out. A fifth one of the accused, let's see what he said, not a real name, said the author was on a book tour in the United States in 2013. He took her to a room with a bed at the back of a bus, closed the door, then got top of her, started kissing and groping her under a dress over her breast, right? So, yeah, look. I am an old fuddy. I'm somebody who believes that sex is better in every way in a committed relationship. Both my boys got married this year since October 7th. And I think they were both virgins getting married, and I think the only people they're ever going to be with is their wives. I would like to hope so, right? Because I think their lives are going to be qualitatively better, happier, stronger for that, right? The bullshit we were sold is bullshit we were sold, and it's so easy to go down that cul-de-sac, right? Because everybody likes sex, right? But, you know, it's sometimes having no restrictions on you is not a good thing, right? Having some restrictions on you can often be a much stronger thing. It's speaking of somebody who's not totally au fait with constraints upon them.
My name's Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.